Evening, everyone.
It was.
This is the meeting of the Sewer Commissioners, December 13th. Calling the meeting to order, 6:30. And a roll call.
Malcolm White, present.
Donna Perron, present.
Peter Dunlop, present.
Jim Gibberti, present. We have minutes from the November 29th meeting.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes of the meeting as provided.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
4-0-0. Citizens' participation, negative. Okay. But one question that's been brought up, Guy, I don't remember, and I know I approve these things, but the Beta Group, what were those three separate bills for? Do you remember?
We had bills that were approved for the INI study because we kept advancing it.
That's right, I remember that one.
So do we have a report from them?
Yes. You asked, actually, when Jim asked me about the INI, where we go now, you guys have a copy of the summary of that report that explains all the areas that are really in
Did they
rough shape.
put a priority on? I don't
Yeah,
remember
you guys all
seeing
have a
it.
copy of it.
We have it?
Yeah, you do, but I bought a summary, just one line I'll share with you tonight. But yeah, the INR report speaks to the entire town, and it rated it as to the catch areas that were getting the most water. That was after a rainstorm or whatever,
Yeah.
the title was taking the most water. So I'll share that with you.
Okay.
But yeah, and then the report explains it all in
You've
detail.
got a summary of the report.
Just that one line, there's a summary, I didn't really say.
Well, that's all that's really important about the whole.
Yeah, but we have
Terrific.
yes, and it's submitted to the DEP and the EPA because that was the whole thing. We had to do it by law by the end of the year. We extended it to April, then we had that nor'easter. They wanted to add that in, so that took it, so we actually wrapped it up the end of, I think it was July 1, we wrapped it up and sent everything out.
Okay, anybody, got anything else?
The onset water department, this is like each one of the pump stations uses that much water?
It's, what it's talking about is the, how much water comes to it, so there's an INI. So as an example, Onset Pier Pump Station takes a lot of water, I think it's number 1. But remember, we're getting a lot from Southwater, also Oneset, and then Green Street. So that whole area, Point Independence, dumps into that pump station.
No,
Plus-
I'm talking about Onset's water bills.
What about it? I'm sorry.
Is that, there's half a dozen of them or so. Is that each pump station, what each pump station uses?
Yes, I'm sorry, I
They all use the same, or we just do a flat rate? That's that's
there's a flat rate for water use, and they all get charged for backflow preventers.
So it's the same for all of them? Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else? Anyone? All right, you're on stage, Guy.
Can I ask one question?
Sure,
Before
go
the guy gets going? Guy, could you tell me what your opinion of was Beta's presentation to us last week?
It wasn't
2 weeks
Beta.
ago?
Ty and Bond.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Ty Bond. That's what I meant, Ty Bond. I was thinking, I had Beta on my head. Can I have your opinion? Because I have my own, I'm just...
I'm sure. First of all, I think he was unprepared, and I think it's, see, I'll look at the big picture. He's been put on hold for some time now. The continuity of what we're trying to do is lost. It's lost, and so we're trying to re-engage. We're switching from water to finding some other type of billing, flat fee type billing, and then taking the EDU and trying to make it fair, and trying to put water to it from old water numbers, and then project going forward. So I think that because we really had him rolling on water and water only. Remember, we grabbed water, we projected, we did all that, and now we're changing gears entirely and trying to make some sense of it. So I think there's a lot more he has to do. I think it was unprepared because we switched him up and said, here's what I want. That's my opinion. We have a long ways to go, I think. It's a tough, arbitrary thing. That's why we are unhappy with the EDU. People don't like the EDU because they assume it to be arbitrary. It's hard to get it, it's hard.
I just felt it was nothing but a waste of our time last week. I was really disappointed. I was very disappointed. I
Yeah,
just
I mean, there was no
wanted to
question he was
ask if-
unprepared.
Yeah, no, he definitely was unprepared.
He's unprepared. He tried to take
He's
existing.
been on it for years. It doesn't seem like they've come anyplace.
I gotta say, we have been years. We did 3 years with the other sewer commissioners, and we're 3 years with this sewer commissioners, and we haven't got
Is
anywhere.
it going on 3? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, 3 years here, it was 3 years before we got it.
Time flies when you're having fun, Matt.
So it's been 6 years. And so he's under a budget that he's been doing for 6 years, and through the 6 years, we've changed gears many times. And
So, I
so,
mean, even if he had based everything on the water rate, he didn't have a number to go with it.
first of all, I'm glad he didn't put a number public. I would never want to see a number public. Second of all, we're trying to assess a flat fee for many types of businesses, many types of residents. And so I just truly don't believe it's a, formula A plus B equals C. It's not that simple. It's more complex than that if you're looking for some type of equity, because I'm in the middle of something right now. The EPA has asked me to divvy up my flow. I do right now 300 pounds of BOD a day. Out of that 300 pounds, what percent is for residential and what percent is for businesses and industry? Because before I can assign industry loading, I have to know what percent of my loading is industry. We're fairly 80% residential, 20% business. So that means if I have 3,000 pounds of BOD a day, 600 pounds goes to businesses, 2,400 pounds goes to residents. Out of that 600 pounds for businesses, I have to divvy that up between every business in town. Because we're such a residential, I cannot take it out of residential to give to business. I'm in the middle of that process. We're going to Kendrick. Kendrick's been alarming like crazy. I don't know what's going on there. It's been alarming like crazy. The pumps can't keep up. I really lost it, what's happening. So we're going to start taking the BOD test at Kendrick and Thatcher. We're doing that immediately. I'm going to spend days. I'm going to sit at that pump station for hours on end. But nonetheless, once I start doing all the BOD readings of these pump stations, I'll be able to say where my concentration of businesses are, and then make some decisions. Because we may be overloaded for BOD for businesses specific, so we'll figure it out. And I cannot let businesses BOD start to overtake residential BOD. I just can't do that, because once you allow something, you sign a BOD or you sign flow, I can't come tomorrow and say, oh, by the way, you got to shut your flow off. So it's not as arbitrary. So what I'm trying to say to you is to establish this for rates for everybody, because there's loading factors, there's a lot of factors that go into it, and once we make a decision, we live by it. We live by it, because I can't come back and say, oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, I need to shut you off. I can't. So the research that goes into it that we all take for granted, say, oh, well, just do it, just do it, just do it. What's the big deal? What's the big deal? Well, once we're committed, we're committed.
When you say committed, if you assign a number to the BOD, but if you say to the business that if your BOD changes, your rate will change, I mean, you can perfectly say that.
I surely can, but when it starts blowing my permit, then I'm in trouble. I have a very, very strict permit by EPA, and we fight hard to maintain that. And so as I watch my BODs increase, which means I've got more loading, not only, and think about the demands of oxygen, but nonetheless, when it gets harder to treat this, and at the back end I start seeing those numbers rise, then I'm in jeopardy of violating permit, which is totally unacceptable. So everything is based upon what comes out the back end of that plant and what I'm putting into the river. And now I'm trying to take that to the Cape Cod Canal.
And
I can't fool with it.
What is our BOD limit?
It's 0.12. It's very low. I forget. I'll have to look. I don't have to commit with
That's
that.
our EPA limit?
Absolutely. It's probably less than that. We have a very low limit. We have total nitrogen of 4 ppm, which is, we're probably the only in the region, and we have phosphorus of 0.2, and our BOD it's less than 10. So I'll get you. I don't have it with me, and I apologize, but I don't have a specific. And then the other things that go with it. So in our TSS, I have a very low TSS, and so I have to be careful of what I do at the front end, because the front end affects the back end. And so when we start getting concerned about business, and I know everybody just say, well, it's just a business. We can have more restaurants. We can have more beer joints. Well, hey, what the heck? What's the big deal? I get the let's do it all and make all the revenue. But when I tax the facility, I can promise you, it won't be, well, it was our decision to allow these businesses. It'll be, it was your problem for not treating that product. I can promise you.
Well, when you say you have a BOD limit, the EPA sets on you. Is that at your input or your output?
My output.
Okay, so as long as we treat it, we're not violating any permit.
The plant is designed to treat so many gallons. That's it. So much loading. That's it. When I exceed that loading, the plant can't operate. It cannot do. It's like, I don't know, I can't do a carpentry relation, but there's only so much you can do with a piece of wood. There's limitations to everything, and I got to make sure I don't exceed those limitations. Pretty straightforward stuff.
But there's other ways of treating the BOD than what we're doing. I mean,
Yeah, but we have a pretty
didn't
robust
Water
system.
Warriors come up with 2 different ways to treat it?
That's to add more loading, yes. Water Warriors was to add, we wanted to experiment to see if I could add more loading to the existing system.
All I'm trying to say is that if we had more business and we increased our BOD at the input, there are methods that we could adapt to keep the out below the EPA limit.
It's called pretreatment. It means the businesses have to pretreat it before they give
Well,
it to me.
either the business retreat it or we charge them accordingly.
And we can. I'm not so worried about the charging. I'm worried about the impact. So if I don't want it, so if I charge you $10 for every milligram BOD over, and I'm exceeding at the back end, what am I getting?
Nothing.
What am I getting? So it's about stopping it before it gets to me. It's called pretreatment. And that's why pretreatment is so critical as we grow as a community. I talked about the marijuana factory. We're going to build, it's not so much the marijuana because it's a business. You're going to extract every drop of oil you can because you can sell it. But what about the cookies you're going to make or the brownies you're going to make? Or that BOD is, we don't even consider it. That's a concern because that strength, sugars are very high in BOD. And so these are the kind of things that I concern myself with because in the big picture, as we expand the town, that treatment plant has to treat it. And that was my point to the beer factory. And the guy is very understanding. I says, to you, it's only 13 pounds, and that's great. Then I can do 13 pounds, but it's within the 600 pounds, and I don't even know what I have for pounds. And I've got people that discharge, I have no idea. So that means that's what the pretreatment program is. I got to go out there and establish all the loading, and what are people giving me? And are they within that 600 pounds that's designated for businesses? That's all.
Okay, how much longer do you have to go before you've got those answers?
A long time. I'm all by myself. I don't have a pretreatment coordinator. The town doesn't want to hire one. It's a union mess. I'm by myself. I'm trying to run a plant. I've got meetings. I've got a million things I'm doing, so it's going to take me a lot longer. Plus, I'm behind on my grease. I got to get out there and do my grease. Yeah, it'll take a while. It'll take a while. I mean, we're on it, and I'm doing this sampling, and I got to gather it. And then I can't just do one sample and say I'm done. It's going to be a series of samples.
Now, was Elena doing that before?
That's right.
Have you got a replacement for her yet?
No, the town has not allowed me. The union's fighting the position. Yeah, it's a long story.
Idiocy continues?
Yeah. It's about who, see, and I'll leave it at this, but it's not so much about doing the job, it's about getting more pay. And if I do a job that pays more, whether I'm qualified or not, I'm entitled to that job because I've been here for a long time. And it's a hard thing to do because I have a serious business to do and I need a treatment coordinator that's educated. And it's a fight. And so I'm trying my hardest to get that position filled. It's a valuable position to this community as we grow. We want to grow. But we have to grow smartly. We have to grow, within the means of what we have. And that's all I'm trying to accomplish. That's it. It's for me, it's a straightforward thing. Complicated, yes. But it's something that I have to do because I cannot afford any surprises at the back end. And it's simple as that. So it's all numbers. It's all numbers. Numbers don't lie. They don't lie. The numbers. So that's why we're so adamant about this paperwork that's out there, that we're asking people to be sincere and get it back to us and do your part. And it's the new beer guy. I mean, he's just already sent me his engineering report. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's spending the money because he knows it's important and critical. It's not consistent across the board. We've got a lot going on in this community that we're selective and, we do a lot of different things that are very, very dangerous to us in the long run. We may get away with it today, but as we start adding more flow, when I start getting that flow from that trailer park, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. And one day I'll have to answer for it. And I'm answering for the decisions that I have no part of. Anyways.
Okay,
So
next,
that being said, yes, I think he was ill-prepared, I agree with you, and I think that he needed to do a better job, but also he needs to be focused on what the task is, and
I was just,
I agree with you.
I was just,
Thanks, that was a good observation. Sewer business, okay, where are we? Let me get some basic stuff out of the way. Minot Forest. The gentleman that was doing remember the 3 condos? And we approved him tying in, well, he's tying in now, and the conservation needs a letter from us saying that it's okay. And with the board's permission, I'll issue that letter telling the conservation that he has met our conditions. If the board, I have the new plans, if anybody wants to see them. I also have the old vote, so he's met the conditions. I'm going to write the conservation and say we're fine, and I'll even include these are the conditions that he has to meet, and we'll do that. One of the things that I have to add to conservation is where he's installing in the force main, he's got to clear that easement to get into it because it's all overgrown. And while he's cleaned, I want him to go all the way to the river because that easement should be completely clean, not just that, a couple hundred feet that he needs. And so I'm going to add that to his task. He's agreed to it, to clean everything out. So I'm just going to mention the conservation that we're going to have that done.
do you need a vote here tonight on that?
We've already voted. I just want, I want the board to be aware of what I'm doing, and because we voted on this back in 2015.
Okay.
And here it is, and so I'm going to write a letter, but I want the board to be refreshed just in case somebody came to the board and said, what's going on there?
I was of the impression that conservation didn't have any ruling over the easement.
The conservation has ruling over everything that touches water and wetland. So the easement is ours. To be frank, the Wetland Protection Act gives us the right to maintain our property. So we can tell the conservation that we're going to clean that up and we don't need their permission, but as a courtesy, we get them involved because that's the right thing to do. In this case, it's an individual business trying to tie into our thing. He needs to cut it for his good. Now, granted, we're benefiting, but he's paying for all this because he's tying into that force main. So out of courtesy to the conservations, I'm going to acknowledge that, yes, he is tying into sewer. He has our permission, and I want him to clear that easement at his cost, not ours. Because they may want things like put up some hay bales or something just to protect the river. They're just trying to protect it. So even though when we do our work, we try to protect it also. So I'm going to write a letter to conservation, if it's okay with the board, to say, yes, we approved it. He's got, and these are the conditions that we want him to follow.
I get a motion to allow Guy to send a letter.
So moved, I make a motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Cranberry Cottage, they want to tie to sewer. They want to tie to that force main, which is by the sidewalk.
Right.
I see no issues. Force mains are dangerous in themselves, but they're going to tap in the force main. They'll put double shut-offs and backflow preventers to protect us and to protect them. They'll have to get a maintenance agreement, all the things that we require for tapping into a force main. They need permission from the board because it's a new connection.
Are they on board with the requirements?
Yes.
Did you get grease traps and everything?
Yes, they have a grease trap. They're going to tie the grease trap in after. They have to put a grinder pump, obviously, to put pressure, and they're going to put the grease trap after that. So the grease trap will clean it up, and then they'll put it after that, and it'll pump into the
Where do
system.
they physically tie in?
Right now, they have a septic system, and so they want to physically tie in on Route 6 along the sidewalk, just on the other side of the sidewalk. There's where the sewer force main comes from Hathaway. And we have a mark there.
Oh, it's like under their parking lot?
Yeah, just in the edge of this, edge of the walkway and the parking lot. Yes, right there there's a force main. So it makes no sense for them to do anything. Just was right there, just tap into it. Yeah, and it makes sense. It makes sense.
No, I was just curious as to where it was.
Yeah, we put a green mark where it is. We marked it out.
Now, the houses on Brown Ave, are they tied in?
No, there's a development on Brown that's tied in, and that sewer comes out and goes across Brown and into Swiss Beach Road. And I think the house on the lower end, I think it's 3 or 4 on the lower end that are tied in. but the upper end is not tied in. Those folks have been asking to tie in. I have no means of getting that unless they did grinder pumps to the manhole. But we haven't done anything.
I make a motion, we grant them approval to tie in.
To tie in, yes.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
How soon are they gonna be open?
They're close. I don't know, a couple months, they're close.
They'll be thrown out by then.
They're close. 136 High Street, there's a situation where there's a house tied to sewer, and they own the house behind it. Somehow we didn't grab it, and it stayed on septic, and there's an elevation difference. So they're going to put a grinder pump and pump to a manhole and connect both houses to tie to the sewer. That's our sewer. Because it's an increase in flow, the board has to give permission for that. I'll show you what it looks like. I see no problem with it. As a matter of fact, it's kind of a good thing to grab that building behind. But I thought I bought maps.
Whereabouts on High Street is it?
It's up by the, remember the ball field, Little League ball field?
Yeah.
Right along there. Right next to that, right next to it, there's a house right next to it. And there's a house in back with a little garage. That house out back has,
Cornwall's?
I don't know, I really don't know.
Is that
J.C. Engineer
Bobby-
presented.
Where Bobby Hunter used to live?
No, he was on the other side.
Oh, he's on the.
I
Oh,
think he
that's
started
here it
Cornwall's
is.
house and the one behind it.
Oh, okay, Cornwall. Yeah, okay,
It's by Kennedy?
Yeah,
yeah.
two down.
Yeah,
That like where Timmy Knight was?
Down a little.
yeah, just, it's closer, but yes, that's the general area. Thought I bought, oh, okay, yes, I did.
Across from,
Is that the one they just,
Rosemary-
is that the
Rosemary
one they
Lane?
just redid? They just
no,
redid?
the other side.
Yeah.
Not the one that,
The yellow one? The yellow house? No.
This doesn't say any yellow.
No, it doesn't, I'm sorry about that, I didn't do it in color. You can see the house that's on the main road. The Lily Field's over here, and they've got this house in the back. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna put a pump system behind the house. They're gonna pump up to where the pipe exits the front house, put a little manhole, and then they're gonna run it out, connect it to the existing sewer to the street.
Is that a force main at that point?
It's a force main from the back of the house to that manhole, and then it's gravity all the rest of the way. Because they've got, the elevations don't match. I've been working with J.C. Engineering for a while, I forget their engineer, but they've been working on this a while, so the best way to do this is to put a pumping system behind the house and pump it to a manhole, and that's where it merges, from the gravity coming out of the house, that'll force main into it, and they'll both gravity to the street. And it's really a good plan. And so we'll get that house into the system, and it's a failed system, and we'll get that right out. And so it's for these folks, it's a good thing. So,
Well, do we vote to approve it, or?
So now they're gonna have to maintain it and everything?
Yes,
You're gonna
every-
get the same
that's right.
contract? with-
same, they've been aware of that, yes, they'll have to have
So
a
it would be very
contract.
similar to them connecting to a force main?
Yes, because it is, that section is a force main, and it comes under the grinder pump rules and regulations. You're absolutely correct.
Okay, I make a motion that we
allow the connection.
Allow the
allow
con,
connection.
second?
All in
I see.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. That's that. I feel a good moment. I think I told the board that our 7-month average for total nitrogen is 1.5. It's an unheard of number. We've had a great 7-month run from April 1st to the end of October 31st. Parts per million is total nitrogen is 1.5. We have a 4.0 limit. It's one of the better producing plants in the region, and definitely the best in Buzzards Bay. So it's pretty, I wanted the board to know that it's good. So that's finalized. We are at the lining project. We're waiting for the bid to be awarded. We got it to the town administrator. He's got to officially award the bid. Our goal is to break ground by January 15th. We have a meeting next week with the police department to review what we're going to do with traffic control in the whole areas. We're also looking at how we're going to bypass. Some of it we'll probably do with trucks, some we'll do with overground pipe. We want to formalize all that. And more specific, when we get into the trailer park, would it be better to truck it out, or would it be better to run it through the neighborhood with piping? Because there's trailers on both sides, and any pipe I put through there for bypass is really going to inhibit their ability to do things, and we feel we'll be in there 3 days. So it may be wise just to have the pump to a tanker and tanker it out, instead of putting a pipe all the way through the trailer park. But we're reviewing that also. So there's a lot of ideas that we have we're looking at, and so we're working with the contractor and his person that's doing the bypass and some of the experience we have. So we'll try to figure out the best way as we do the entire project that we get it through.
You said January 15th?
Yeah. January 15th is, well, also, that's, the contractor will be ready to go too, because there's some things that, I mean, this,
I'm just very leery of the bypass from what I've heard of where they're going to put it.
well, we may change that up. We're trying a lot of different things, and some of it we're going to do, especially in that area where the trailer park is, because the bypass for
I
the
was
main
more concerned about what's going on the street.
Swiss Beach Road, I think in the middle, I think we can actually take a whole lane.
That's the part that scares me, January 15th. Now start thinking about snow.
Yeah, if we put the pipe in the middle and block it off, the plows are going to have one small path here, one small path here. And so that's, we're going to try our best.
People are going to have to go all the way down and turn around to come back. The school buses let the kids off on the other side of the street.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of concerns there.
Absolutely, and that's why we're going to walk with the police. It's, I mean, it's doable. We figure that stretch should take us 7 days, and it's going to be 7 days of inconvenience, but we really have no choice.
7 days at 8,000, it might be cheaper to use the trucks.
We're going to look at that. We'll look at that, but I don't know if we can keep up with the flow, because we have, we've got Terry Lane, so we got Smith's, and we got Terry Lane, we got, that feeds to us. And Terry Lane takes Cremisa, it takes Mattapoisett, so we
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
you won't get that until you get to the trailer park.
Well, in between Mather and the trailer park in the middle, Terry Lane dumps in. It comes up by, I want to say Lincoln Street, but there's a street on the side where that one dumps into, so that comes in a lot lower. Terry Lane, which is all the other ones, that's a lot lower. Up at the trailer park, we take the other end from Weeby-Antic, which is all the Weeby-Antic, Briarwood.
Well, once you get to the
Grosse
trailer
Pointe.
park, yeah, trucking would be
And-
prohibitive.
Well, we're going to try to truck there too. And so it's crazy. And a lot of it's under review, because no matter what we do, we're going to inconvenience, and we're trying to inconvenience at a
Now,
minimum.
if they ran it down the middle of the road, would they have to have police presence 24/7?
I'm not so sure about police presence, but they're going to have to man it 24 hours, because you can never have a pump in a bypass that's not manned. So the police may require. We budgeted almost $200,000 for police, because we know it's going to be expensive. So we're hoping to get rock and rolling. So January 15th is that dead, and we got to do it, and we'll, if there's a major storm coming in, well, it's delayed, but as long as we can get out there, we're out there. We're out there, and we'll look at the weather.
I'm more concerned with the bypass than anything else.
Bypass, we can either 2 6s or I think a 10. It may be wiser to do a 10-inch, because then we can put that 10-inch between the double lines. That's our goal. But we'll definitely measure it out and be sure.
But one car hits it.
It'll be barricaded all the other side. I mean, yeah, I get it. I get it. And people speed down that road. It's a crazy road. It's a crazy road.
And there's a lot of traffic, especially getting as far as the woods.
So police present, and the details are going to be pretty substantial in that stretch while we go, because we
Yeah,
got to
they-
slow people down. Yeah.
Yeah, when that's all added up, I hope they look at it. Well, I mean, it might be quicker to put Noonan down there with a trailer every hour or so, down at Smith's.
It'll be for Smith's, but remember, there's gravity every place else that dumps into that line too. So as we're lining this, we're shutting people off. So we're trying to figure out what to do with them other than saying you're off. So up that line, there's laterals into them also. We were going to tie those laterals into one. We were planning on tying those laterals into one, but I don't know how we're going to do it. That's why we do a manhole
I
to
thought we
manhole.
were doing the force main.
No, we're doing the gravity. Force main's another story, and I've been dealing with that. This is the gravity. Everything's gravity. It's 18-inch concrete to 21-inch concrete, all gravity, all gravity. It's all gravity. All the force mains pump into the gravity. So it's logistics, and we have to really, think about it, and that's why the players, we feel that the police department, which has got to communicate with the fire department, it's got to communicate with EMS, because emergency vehicle, we got to make sure it never stops, even if whatever I have to do, I got to leave it opening. So if the emergency vehicles go over the bypass, put a fire out, so be it. I got to be ready to shut it down. So all that's logistics. It's logistics. Lining the pipe's the easy part. It's getting the ability to line it that's the difficult part.
Like prepping the paint.
Yeah, that's why people don't like to paint. Painting's easy. I shouldn't say it's easy, I apologize. But painting's easier than preparing for the paint. I should say, I'm not a painter, I don't like to paint.
I don't either.
So that's where we are with that, so I just wanted to bring you up to speed on that. This is your priority. So-
Excuse me a second. The project that we're undertaking at the present time, the Swiss Beach, how many feet is that altogether?
Gosh, you'd have to ask me, wouldn't you? A little shy of 2 miles, 1.8, so
1.8 is what I
1.8
remember.
miles, so it's 5,000, 9,000, 8,600 feet, almost 9,000 feet.
1.8 miles.
Yeah, so I'm going to say 86, 9,000 feet.
Okay, I'll use 9,000 as a base.
Yeah, so now remember, when you do your math, Jim, we're talking a 21-inch pipe at 8 inches different, 12 inches different. So if you did your 21 and you ballparked it and got what you can expend, you'll be on the high side, but it won't be a bad idea, because each pipe has a different price. The material, we got concrete, asbestos is different. You got asbestos size, so they're all, you'd have to look at the specifics. But for general ballpark, if you took the 9,000 feet divided by 4 million, you'd get a cost of per foot cost for that particular.
I'm looking at just some ballpark numbers at the moment on that kind of a basis. Because we have a situation where we have a bid that has come in that's below what we had authorized. There's residual monies there that, under the existing circumstances, we have to turn back our borrowing authorization, but I'd like to be able to go back after the same borrowing authorization to do whatever's available within that number to line.
We were fortunate because during our pre-bid meeting, we had probably 7 or 8 contractors, and they battled. And we talked about what the town was looking for. A lot of contractors don't believe in aquatic safe. They believe that it's 30, 40 years before there's a problem, and what's the big deal, and there may never be a problem. And because we're so pristine and we have so much selfish to protect, we didn't take that attitude. And so anyways, to make a long story, there's 3 people that were going to bid it on that product, on aquatic safe. And I just think because of competition and the conversations, we got a real good price. We got a really good price. So that being said, what we're doing is 2-part. One was the $5 million out of the budget, and the other was the authorization of $5 million, because we estimated to be between $5 million and $9 million. So the second half we're not using. So so now it's a separate project. If we went back at town meeting and we changed the scope of that work, because that 5,000 was for this project, so we can't, 5 million can't use it, but we'd have to go back to town meeting, since it's already been authorized, get the town meeting to authorize to spend it in another location.
Right.
That's all.
I know, I realize that, but that's why I wanted to get what you feel is the most critical and how many feet we're talking about and how that translates in on going forward.
Yeah, so that's the,
If you take this the Smith number of 33,000 feet,
Linear feet,
how
yes.
much are we doing now? This project that we're about to start on the 15th,
None.
none of that's in this 33?
No.
No, because Smith, everything from the Ruggles Pump Station and that whole area, everything across the street from Shore Ave, all the way to Hamilton Beach, all that's what dumps into into
So
Smith's.
all of this is, all of the smaller stuff, all down Hamilton and Swift Beach?
Yes, Hamilton's, probably all of Swiss Beach, below the, you know, where it wise to Swiss Beach Road and Shore.
Yep.
Take that, everything just right in, all that that represents the second highest problem area.
Swiss Beach, yeah.
So Swiss Beach is up there. Onset Pier, it's a shorter run, but it has, you know, a lot more, I mean, it's 8% of our total inflow. So what we'd have to do is that, and that says only 5,000 feet, so that's a mile. So the mile we may want to attack because we can probably do that within the numbers we have. Or do we say, let's pick a mile into 33,000, what's the higher critical? And so what I have to do between now and then is camera, do some testing and see, okay, which one produces the most water? And then which one is the safest? Is it the asbestos? Is it the clay? Which one is more critical right now? We have a concrete pipe that runs from South Water to Onset Pier Pump Station. That pipe is not that long, probably 900 feet, but it's under the beach and it's in water. And so I have to determine, I'll start that immediately, but I have to determine by town meeting is which ones are the most critical and put that, so we'll put out the bid. But I can arbitrarily say, we do 5,000 feet in Smiths, do we do the 1,000 feet, do the 5,000 feet in Onset? North Boulevard is 7,000 feet, you know, and then you got Ruggles. Ruggles, you add Ruggles to Smith's, then you get, that makes that 8.5, and Smith is 20, so that makes it the highest. So that may be the way, so I just,
Ballparking numbers, you're looking at being able to do, if we get another 5, looking to do 10,000 feet.
roughly,
That's, you know, those are rough
2
numbers.
miles,
I
yes,
understand that.
roughly, 2 miles, rough.
So that's basically what I think we need to be looking at and where that 10,000 feet is gonna be.
Yep. It's either gonna be Onset or Swiss
For the
Beach,
most good for the town.
which one has, is the,
There's
I'm gonna look
the most
at,
criticality.
that's right, it's not only the flow, it's the structure. The pipe we're doing now has a lot of I&I, but more importantly, it has a structural defect. There's a lot of rebar showing, so that pipe's in trouble. And so that, as far as consequences of failure
I
and
say
failure, it
we
went
need
high, so.
You need to determine which is the most critical, and then we'll look at going forward on that.
We'll do the same thing, we'll apply the same data, which one is
Just those two of
in
them.
consequence of failure. If it was to fail, what's the consequences?
Yeah.
So we'll put that
That's
type
why I
of,
say,
One
you've gotta
stone.
determine that, and we can't determine that,
If you take these.
Gotta let us
take
know
them
which-
2 cents a gallon.
which ones.
Yeah.
I mean, these numbers look, you know, they're all pretty and nice to look at and the rest of that, but they don't just
Yeah.
don't tell us what's the most critical and why.
no, they tell you an
That's up-
area.
That's up to you to do that.
Yeah, they give us an area, and then we have to locate
Yeah, so
within
you've
that
gotta-
area.
You've gotta figure that one out and let us know what we're talking about and why.
Yeah, we'll do that, yeah. Because part of me, you know, we've had this force main break in Smith's, and it was external as well as internal, but mostly external. And I know that Swiss Beach was a troubled project, and we found it bedded with asphalt, bedded with rock, and so I have a concern for that entire force main.
Swiss Beach, I agree with you there.
Smith, that force main scares me, because if that force main, which runs along the causeway, if there's a hole in it, we'll never know. We'll never know, because it'll never come to the surface. It'll go straight out to the bay. So I'm trying to find a technique to that, and that force main from Smith's to Mather, it's like 1.3 miles or a little more. I need to find a technique to be able to test that entire line to see if it is leaking. One concept was to pressurize it, to take it offline, cap it, pressurize it with air, and see if it holds. See if we can even pressurize it. If we can't pressurize that line, then there's something wrong. And then we have to go find it. And so our force mains, we have about 40 force mains in town. We have 45 pump stations. Each pump station has a force main. And the newer ones are, you know, ductile, but we're assuming they're in good shape. But, so I want to look at that also. But yes, I will put this together. I will try to prioritize within these regions, and we'll do that.
Those are the most critical, that's the one we need to do.
So this is costing us almost 2 cents a gallon, the process?
Something like that, yes. You can see the inflow.
I'll total it all up, but look at that, just on the top three.
Yeah.
Remember, we're seeing in the last storms we had, we saw 500,000 gallons come into the plant, excessive.
He didn't give us a total. Oh, on the back he did.
Yeah,
maybe.
there's a couple of
Oh,
that.
yeah.
We had 500,000 gallons.
No.
We took we have 2 million gallon basins. The last series of rain filled up a half a basin. So we know we're getting it. So. Okay.
Next.
Grease traps, interior. I'm working with some new restaurants, and we've made a deal where they'll clean their internal trap, and they can bring it to us. We'll come by and grab it. I'm trying my best to promote the concept of getting rid of the internal grease traps. They're the little 35-pounders inside under the sink. What I'm saying is that you just have your staff, they've got a training tape, we're going to reinforce the training tape, clean it out daily. And I'll take it away for no charge, because they're paying good money. It's 5 gallons in a bucket. Just put it in your 5-gallon bucket, give me a call, I'll come by and I'll grab it. So I'm trying to encourage and promote the concept of let's get rid of it, because grease is still a problem. And I've got a couple of great articles on it, but nonetheless, I think we can promote, like everything else, most people are driven by economics. If they can save a buck, then they will. I have one restaurant, a newer restaurant, and she suggested that she do that, and I've been watching, she's doing a great job. We got a hot dog stand, that's all they do. And I said, you know what, let's just give everybody the same opportunity, and we'll grab it. We're out and about anyways. We check stations all day. To come by and grab a 5-gallon pail, it's nothing. So I want to work on it, and maybe do it on a Thursday or a Friday, and just, the truck's out doing station anyways, and put the restaurants in the loop, just grab those 5-gallon pails, depend on how much they produce, and be done with it. So I'm trying to make that work. I wanted to give you, I asked for copies, but I was given just one copy. This is just the gist of it, but we had talked about people who hadn't tied in. We sent out letters, that's just one letter that we got in, like a whole stack of them. And that's just to give you a flavor of what people are saying out there. Why I picked this one is because she had paid money for a septic system, an innovative septic system, and she borrowed a ton of money to do it. I'm asking her to tie in, and now she's going to have to borrow money to tie in, so she's going to pay for the tie-in, and she's also got to continue paying for that septic system. And she said it's kind of crazy. So I don't know how to answer her. She's valid in what she's saying, but the policy says you'll tie in. She's beyond her 5 years and all that good stuff, and she's on Social Security, she's sickly, her husband's sickly, they have no means, and I don't know how to handle that young lady. So I just wanted the board to have an idea of flavor. If you want to see them all, when we have policies and they're across the board, I don't know if there's individual cases that, it's hard. But anyways, I wanted to give you a flavor of what we're getting and what we're reading. So that's what that is. I talked about the high alarms at Kendrick. It's crazy. It's really bothers, but we're going to get that. Also, I want to make a public announcement to our ratepayers. I talked to the town treasurer, and we're getting calls with people saying that they can't afford the bill that comes out around tax time or whatever, and it's really bothering them. And he said to me that they have 60 days to pay it. If they wanted to pay it each week out of their paycheck, there's no problem. If they want to go beyond the 60 days, whatever the balance is will incur a small interest. So what I want ratepayers to know is that when you get your bill, you get it October 1st, let's say it's due November, you can make small payments to help you out. Instead of saying, I need all that $300 at one shot, there's some people that don't have that $300. Well, do $20 a week or whatever you can. We're willing to work with you. And the town treasurer said, just remember, guys, they're paying it, that interest is minimal. So if you need 5 months, go for it. It's a very minimal charge. And I'm hoping that helps out some folks that just don't have that $300 to lay down and pay that sewer bill. To us that are blessed, we say $300, what are they, crazy? I spend that out to dinner. But there's some people that $300 means everything to them. And I think we need to address those folks. And so this is a way for those folks to say, go ahead. If I paid over 7 weeks, you get your money weekly or bi-weekly, whatever, it may be a little easier for you. And if you get your check monthly, then take the 2 months, pay one and go extra, and pay a small interest for those that are not fixing it for once a month. Stretch it out to 4 or 5 months, and that interest added to it will make it easier for you to get by, so it may be the way to go. And if they have any questions, so please call the treasurer collector or call me, and I'll answer whatever I can. And that's what he offered. He says, just remind them that they can stretch it out. You have a right to stretch it out. So I wanted to make sure that got out there.
Because I don't think people realize that.
I don't either.
But if they look at like the tax bill, it's, you've got to get it in by the,
Now, you can stretch it out. You minimize when you get your tax bill, you can spread that out over, I think it's every 6 months. You just got to pay it by the due date. And if you don't, then what you don't pay, that balance is a small interest. So there are folks there that are struggling. Yeah, the town will work with you, because I keep hearing the town's hot list. They don't want to hear it. They don't want, yes, we will work with you.
What month does the bill go out?
So let's say the bill goes out, it goes up, say, September 1st.
So it's due October 1st.
It's due November 1st. I think it's, so technically August 1st, it's 60 days. So the bill is, August 1st, I start the billing cycle. I try to get them out, but it usually is until the middle of August, and it usually doesn't get out to September. So September, all of October. You have 60 days from the time that bill goes out, you have 60 days to pay it. So in that 60 days, if you, instead of waiting the 60th, they say, oh, I don't have that $300.
What else goes out at the same time?
You can spread it out.
When do the tax bills go out?
Tax bills goes out, I want to say January, and then 3 months later.
So
It's 4 bills, 4 quarters.
That's due February 1st.
And then you got another one, take out another 3 months, and another 3 months, and because tax bills go out 4 quarters.
So we're in between.
Well, what I'm saying is that you make $1,000 a month, that's all you get. So all of a sudden you get your tax bill, then 2 weeks later you get your sewer bill, then you get your water bill, then you get another bill, and so some people struggle. Like I said, those of us that are blessed, it doesn't mean nothing to us. We just cut a check and we're done. But there are people that don't have that ability.
There's more people than not that don't have that.
We don't understand, there's a lot of people
But
that
if they know that they can pay on a monthly basis.
It helps
They should, yeah, I agree with you 100%.
help them, help those that need help. Those of us that don't need help, then we can ignore it. That's all. Some of us, again, I count my blessings every day because I know I'm blessed.
Guy,
So
when was Indian Neck Road? So
Is this a
I'm
month?
sorry?
when was
Is this a
Indian Neck
month?
Road?
What
So
month? How much?
I want to say
Storm total.
2011, maybe,
Every
2012. The project was bid out in 2009. Indian Neck was part of the original Parkwood, Oak Street, and then it ended up
All
being
the
with
way down?
Cremisa, and
was that all the way down to the end of Indian Neck? I mean, from Main Street or Sandwich Road?
Indian Neck,
Or was it from?
there's no Indian Neck done just other from Sands Road to Minot Ave. That's the only piece of Indian Neck that's done. The rest of the Indian Neck that goes by Parkwood, there's no sewer on that road. There's really no houses on that part of it. And when it gets past Parkwood, we don't have anything
The
else
only
there.
part that was done was the Sandwich Road to.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
I have a question on this report. My question is, you're saying the standard storm total per storm?
That's a DEP set number. I have no control of that number. DEP does it by inches and it's standard. I don't know where they got
But
their
is it
standard.
yearly, monthly, weekly?
It's yearly, and they break it down, so it's yearly. So
Yearly.
the DEP does that. I don't know how they do it, but that's,
So basically, we're paying an extra 10,080. You're talking about 504,000 gallons in total. Okay? So we're paid an extra 10,080 a year? That seems like low.
what do you mean? So the standard storm total inflow volumes,
Yeah?
Yeah, it comes out to roughly 500,000 gallons.
500,000 gallons. add up,
504,000.
And that's about what we get every rainstorm. Every
storm?
Every inch of rain we
Well, that's
get
what
about.
we asked you.
That's
What is
right.
this number?
Yeah.
Well, I said, so the number is set by the DEP, the standard, so
Oh, okay.
I don't, you mean, so let me just back up. There's a standard form they use, the standard storm total inflow volumes. So for us, onset one is, for the 5,000 feet, there's 25,000 gallons.
Right.
And that's it, that's a higher percent, the 113. Yes, those are numbers that we put meters. So I understand your question now.
Okay.
That we metered and we saw those numbers. This was done over a year period.
Oh, okay.
And because every time you see numbers, you can do many storms.
So-
And then also, there's a standard state storm that usually mimics what we're doing, because if there's a dry season, somebody has to have numbers, so we go to the state for their numbers. We did it in a wet season, and that's why we had to do it again in March. We have actual numbers, and they put those
So
numbers in there.
first storm in onset period is 125,000.
That's what this says, yes.
Yeah.
And so Swiss Beach is 113 plus 43, which is 156.
Yeah.
That's the Swiss Beach area.
So that's actually more than.
It is more
than
because,
onset.
that's right. You combine Swiss Beach, Ruggles, and Smiths, then you get 80, almost, you say 8.5 and 22. So yes, it's 30%, which is greater than onset.
So that tells us right away where we should go first.
We know that it's between Smiths and onset pier, yes. And so we're going to look at, we'll do the Smiths and Ruggles, and we'll look at the ones that are the most trouble. Because I look at structure as well as flow, and so we'll have to make a determination.
As you said, for those of us that have been around all these years, we know that the Swift Beach project ran into major problems.
Going bankrupt.
Yeah.
And the scary part for me in Swiss Beach, there's still pilings in the ground. They use a lot of plank and wood shoring. That's still there.
Yeah.
And so all kinds of things happen, and so I get nervous with piping if I have to chase a pipe because I don't know what I'm going to run into.
Right.
Digging up the Smith's pump station, it was scary. The things we were finding, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Wood, boulders, concrete, asphalt, metal. We found all kinds of stuff. It was just scary. And so if that's the bedding for that force main, and that's what troubles me. That force main moves. It deflects with the tide coming up and down, the force from the force main, it contracts, and that's rubbing constantly. So yeah, Swiss Beach was a major mess. It was a major mess. And so structurally, that may be where we have to go. Yes,
Anything
but
else?
I talked about the grease, I talked about that. I think let me just look at one more page. We sent the letters to everybody about the
Yeah, I got mine in the mail.
increase. So the question that, I got a call from the administration, they were concerned that people might think that the money is 596 plus. And so I said, no, I think it'll be fine. So anyways, there's a breakdown. So Monday we started getting phone calls, and we're getting some doozies. But nobody's thought that I shouldn't say that, 2 people thought that was being added. So I'm glad that that's dispelled. Most people are not concerned about that. What they are concerned about, and I'll be very frank, that's really troubling me, is they keep telling me that we've been raising our rates right along, which is not true. We've had a 2012 raise, and I think it was in 2008, 2009. What I'm finding is that they're confusing us with the water districts, because
Oh,
they've been
yeah.
raising their rates regularly.
The same thing.
Yeah.
And so they're telling me, yes, you guys, I'm tired of you guys raising your rates, you keep raising your rates. And I'm saying, no, we haven't raised since 2012, and we're long overdue.
Right.
And so that's what the most of these comments are, is that
They're confusing us.
we're just, and I'm saying that is not us. This is the suit we haven't raised since 2012, and we're raising because we have the need, because our infrastructure is getting older, our costs are going up, and we've absorbed it for the past 6 years, and we just have to. There's so much we have to do, and there's so much expenses we have, and we have to. So once you talk to them, they understand, but it's that initial, you guys are raping us, you keep raising it, and so we're getting past that. I'm also getting some flack from summer folks, and I'm reminding them that I don't care how many days you use it out of the month, but we still have to maintain that line in front of your house. We still have to maintain those manholes around your house, and we still have to maintain that pump station. So that basic cost will never go away, and so you need to understand that. I get it that you only use it a month, 2 months, but the costs for us are year-round, and, we still have to maintain it. So that's been the gist of these calls and the letters. I'm pleased. Most people are pleasant. I'm excited. We have some really nice, pleasant, good customers. I'm excited about that. And the ones that are angry, explain it to them, and they seem to understand. And once we delineate between water and sewer, they seem to calm down, so I think it's been a good thing. So I just wanted to report that to the board, so that you know how the letters are going. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman, I think, for tonight, that's all I have.
Anybody have any comments, questions to add? Okay, moving on. Some pumps, from what you just mentioned earlier, it looks like we need to revise or definitely look at that policy a little heavier. We may need some exceptions written into it, or at least the ability to make changes as necessary. Stone Path, you sent a letter to them, or they sent to?
I've said nothing. The last I knew, they were going to, when they started producing, that they were going to tell us they were, and then we'd go sample it. I haven't heard from them, so I'm assuming they haven't produced yet. So that's what it, by the last, so they haven't produced. They haven't gone in business yet. I guess they're still selling beer. They're going to have some parties and some entertainment things. I think they're really hammering that. 'Cause I guess they're applying for new licenses, extensions, and entertainment licenses. But as far as I'm concerned, they haven't started producing malt yet, because their instructions were to call us and sample it. So obviously, they haven't started that part yet.
Peter, we may have to make another trip there. Okay, the homes, that's still,
I think we're going to have to take a hard line on that.
I've had a,
That's, I agree, it's hard because there's some cases, but yeah, you're right, we can't isolate and say, you're good, you're not good, I don't know how, you're
okay,
right.
on this particular issue, I talked to the Board of Health and suggested that maybe we have a meeting with them to see where we can go with this, because we're gonna need some assistance from them, I think.
That might be a good start.
Yeah, so I've already talked to Bob, and he's willing to do it, so after the first of the year, we'll try to get together with them.
Okay.
EDU rates.
You're going to set that up?
Yeah. EDU rates, we had that discussion at the last meeting, which left a lot to be desired. The only thing that came out of that made a little bit of sense, at least from my standpoint, was breaking out residential and businesses by category of businesses, and maybe into more than one category within that liner.
Yep.
Well, if
So
you- if
that, I
you-
think, that needs to be pursued and get a definition of what may fall into each one of these categories and what they are. And
Yeah, the way I felt it was left is that we can pretty accurately identify the residential cost to treat.
Yep.
It's the other end.
So if you broke down the commercial, would you bring in the BOD at this point?
Yes.
We'd have to.
We
Or
bring in the
should. I
BOD,
don't know if we
loading and
should.
loading. Now, keep in mind, our EDU schedule already, and we've never done it, and I don't know why, since 1996, it allows us to charge loading to industries. It's there. We've never applied it.
But at the same
Well, we
time, you
have to
don't
do
have
more.
any basis to apply.
We need a basis, right, which costs money to
Try to
establish.
find out the basis now.
It says anything that's non-residential, there's a fee. I'm sorry, there's a structure. So if you're a business, you pay one ED, you're supposed to give us your water rates, and that's, I don't know why, but you're supposed to take the water flow, and then you multiply it by, you figure out, you take the loading, you sample them, and then there's a math, it's a simple equation, how many pounds per day they're giving you. It's one EDU per every 100 pounds, and then, but
But there's
we've
no
never.
sampling done on that now.
No, I'm saying
There
we've never,
hasn't been any
we've never
sampling
done
done.
it.
So
No,
that's
it's never been applied.
immaterial, that's superfluous, it doesn't mean anything.
No, it means we can apply it. That's what it means.
If we,
I'm
first you
starting to
gotta,
apply it.
first,
As businesses come into
Sampling.
town, we're going to apply, yes, we're
We're
going to apply
having
it.
this discussion, what's the magnitude of having to do all the sampling?
The businesses pay for it, so the magnitude is just our time. We go and we go to their business, we put a 24-hour compositor, we lock it.
They're paying for it, they paying for our time?
No, they don't pay for our time. They pay for the samples. They pay
For the
the
samples.
cost of analyzing the samples, yes. Yes. That's all
I'm
they pay for.
just thinking, you can pretty much figure your residential number of users, it costs X amount per EDU, right? You come up with a number, you back that into what it costs to run our operation, Now you got another number. That's industrial commercial. So we're getting somewhere.
Yes, we are.
We are.
We've got, so I say, I think.
And is that is how we left it, right, with
Absolutely.
time
At
bond?
least we're working in,
Absolutely.
we're working in a
That's how
more
you-
positive
absolutely.
direction than we have
I mean,
previously.
he was a little bit confusing, but I think that's how we left it.
Yes.
What sort of equipment would this require?
Sampler.
To go to the commercial and check each one?
The sampler and staff. I need a pre-treatment coordinator. There's a procedure, EPA procedure, to walk into a business, and there's a lot of,
No, he asked, what was the equipment?
just a sampler.
And what's a
Excuse me?
sampler? What's a
Sampler.
sampler mean? Is that more than, is that,
I have it, I own it.
How
I
many?
own it. I own one.
so you can only
So,
do
but I
one
mean,
business
so
at a
you'd only be
time?
able to do one business at a time?
One a day. I do a 24-hour composite, move to the next one, 24 composite, to the
How
next
many
one.
commercial businesses are we talking here?
Oh, that's a good question.
What are you gonna do when you get to something like Wareham Crossing?
What about Wareham Crossing? Wareham Crossing doesn't have a whole lot of industry, it's a lot of retail. I'm just gonna worry about the restaurants in Wareham Crossing. There's no,
Can you isolate them?
they have manholes everywhere. Absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely.
so they can be
So-
isolated as opposed to Old Navy or something like that?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
So back to the way it was left with Ty and Bond's rep, when I asked about cost. Maybe the cost really isn't a lot of money, like he said, to move forward with a different way of figuring this rate.
It may not be. I know that it's,
You know where I'm going.
yes, yes. He was
We're not
left,
engineers, but we kind of, I think we have a direction that's really not as vague as we,
no, we know that 80% of our business is residential, so that's a cost. If you took 80% of your budget and assigned it, and what you're saying, take 20% and sign it here, you're just gonna figure out what's within that 20%, and proportionately, because the law tells us that everything has to be proportional. And so we gotta be careful, because if we don't do proportional, because remember, whatever we do, it's gotta stand up to the scrutiny of the law, because once somebody
Right.
challenges it, we gotta go to court, and we gotta be able to substantiate what we're doing. So it's proportional, so we gotta be careful of that word proportional.
so do you need to have a discussion with them and tell them that maybe we're headed towards having to do sampling on that 20%?
The industry, I've already sent letters out, we are going to sample. They're aware, we've started that, we did that last year. I've got businesses that I'm petrified of because they're doing some crazy things. Now I have to follow up.
Out of curiosity, is there a company that you could bring in to just do the sampling?
It's awfully expensive, but there is. I try to do some, I mean, it's expensive.
And,
I don't know, 80,000?
well, I'm talking about, you know, you're not looking at,
Just the businesses. I got a price just to do just grease. At that time, it was 65,000, just to do grease, just grease,
How long do you have to leave this piece of equipment?
24 hours.
what's,
Or it's a, it's, because to do a sampling, if I took one grab sample and based my decision on that, it could be either I could be losing or winning. So you take samples throughout the day, and so you take a little aliquots, and it goes into a container. At the end of the day, take that container, and that's a representation, a 24-hour cycle representation of what that business flows out.
does this
That's
do
what
it
you
automatically?
Yes, you just set it up and you walk away.
How many, what's it cost for one of these units?
$2,200. If I can have 10 of them, but if I can't get them in and out and maintained, then what's the sense? I got to go by staff.
My question, that's why I asked about the other. If we have got the units, is there a company that would come in and do that?
Yeah, there
Place
are-
them, remove them?
They're $125, $150 an hour. Yes, absolutely.
No, we're paying that now for engineers that we,
I'm just saying, it's the same, those are the people that consult, they're the ones going to do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Engineers do all the testing, yeah.
They test it, it's
usually.
$125,
but you're talking about
$150 an hour.
testing. You've already said testing was separate from what you're doing.
So there's a whole process. First of all, a business gets a letter, then I have to observe the flow pattern. I have to, that's.
Aside from the
so
process,
I
the
don't-
process is.
I don't,
once we
because
put the
I'm running out of
box in-
time with this question. The box, I put the box, it does itself for 24 hours, I come back, I send it to the lab, and I'm done.
All right. So what you're saying to us, is, from what I understand, what you're telling me, is that you need a body to do that.
Yes, I said, I'm doing it
Period.
now. That's right, I'm doing it now. We
But
had somebody to
Now
do
we're
it.
looking at a body to do that.
Yes.
Right.
And the body's 60,000 a year, and to put a consultant to do it for a couple of months, it's going to cost me 80, 90,000. I just can't see myself doing it. That's all.
If we've got more than one box, we obviously can cut the time frame down.
Well, you just spread it out, but so I pay 5 companies $150 an hour per person. I don't see it cutting down. I just, because it's all going to take time. For me, it'll take a little longer, but we can look into that.
But I'm saying, right now, you're telling me you're gonna do one a day.
That's right, if I'm
Got
lucky.
one person, they can
I
put
got
10
one
boxes out a day and collect 10 a day and replace 10 a day.
If I have one person, that's all they do, and I'm trying to hire that person, then they can do more than me. Yes. And I'm waiting to get that person.
But you don't want that person on staff full-time, because you're not gonna use them full-time. You're using them for this one-time sampling, right?
So let me be clear. Sampling is just, that takes care of itself. There's also, with that sampling, I got to do, is it a closed loop, open loop? I've got to actually go in there. That consultant's going to go in there, put the sample in, and then run the business. They're going to see what they're doing, do some calculations, do some math. That's what the person's going to do. It isn't just, hey, I'm going to drop a sample and go. That's the easy part. That's for loading. But I have to identify the industry. I have to identify what's in there, what's going on, to give us direction of what to test for. Do I test for basic nutrients? Do I test for toluene? Do I test for petroleum products? Because that's why I investigate in the business and touring it. So that's where we are. We've got to get into every single business. We sent out questionnaires a year ago, and we're slowly getting them in because we asked the folks to tell us what you're doing there. Well, you know how that goes. Or nothing. And so we have to follow up on letters, knock on doors, show me what you're doing here. I need to walk around. What is that? What is that? Where does that go? What's that chemical used for? Is it closed? Show me your filtration. And that's what it's all about. And that's time consuming. I have to see.
Yeah, I'm missing something in the translation here, I know that. I'm not asking the right questions.
No, you're not. Because I'm trying to figure out what you're asking. The sampling, you're talking about the actual sampling that goes in the sewer line. That's easy. That's easy. I need to know what the business does.
Why?
That's hard. To give me direction. What do I sample for? I take your sample, what do I sample for?
Well, I thought that's what the equipment did, is it gave
No,
you
the
the
equipment
BOD.
just collects it. I have to ask the lab what sample to do. So I tell the lab,
Well,
you
where
know
you
what?
taking it?
I don't know, take
Where are you
everything.
taking the sample?
Out of the sewer line.
Where are you taking it to?
I'm taking it to a lab.
Well, they're gonna tell you what's in it.
So, okay, exactly. So I said, just sample
Why
it.
are
So-
you asking in the first place?
Because it's the difference between me spending $2,000 to the business or $100. If I go to a business that I know that my only liability is sugar, then I test for BODs and that's it. If I know my liability is petroleum, chemicals, whatever's there, I say, oh my God, check for those things. So it's individual business, so you want to know
You
what's
said that the
there.
business is paying for this.
They are,
Well, then it would behoove them to tell you what's in it in a,
you would think. And I'm trying to be fair, you would think. So, and I also want to know if there's any potential of side streams. There's a lot of things I have to see. That's part of the program, just like dentist's office. I got to go see if there are filters in there. Are they changing it routinely? Can you tell me what you're doing? What's your practice? That's because we need to know what's coming at us. And I would agree with you if people would tell it like it is, without agendas, then I agree with you. But that's not the real world. You got to see it.
So if
We live in a real world.
they're paying for it, Guy, right, we can request that they have it done? And can we give them a list of vendors that'll do it?
We send it, what we do is we send it to a vendor and it gets done, yes. We pick the vendor, we control it because if we let them, we got to worry about it being tampered with. So we try to get an independent lab that's going to do it. We'll send it to an independent lab, we'll never do it in-house. We are there, we put our lock on it, we monitor it, and then we send it away. They pay for the test. So to tell a business, I'll arbitrarily test. I'll test for everything in the world. May cost you $2,000, may cost you $3,000. Half the tests you don't need. They sue us, and they say, well, what are you testing for? I've got to defend the fact that, well, I just want to test for everything, because I really don't want to take the time to go in the building. I just want to take it out. I'm going to test for everything. It is what it is. That's arbitrary. I just don't see that being defendable and right, and the right thing to do. So the right thing to do is to see what they got, look at my liabilities, and listen, sir, I'm going to test for this. This is going to be your cost.
And the right thing for them to do is to tell you the truth.
This is
Now, if that's not gonna happen,
This is 2018.
then I think you test for
Well,
everything.
right, if you're not getting the right information,
No,
and you end up
Pretty
having to
simple.
test for a full spectrum, they get the $3,000
That's right.
bill.
Yeah,
So What I want to see is what's going on. If we go in and I can see it, then I need to bother. Like when I toured the crouton factory, I know all my
You
liabilities.
have time to do all that, though.
That's what the pretreatment coordinator is going to do, and we're trying to hire. That's the frankness of it. That's a full-time position.
Yeah, because now you have to, once you put that program in place, you have to maintain the
Maintain
program.
it. Absolutely. It's not just one
And
time.
update the program.
You've got, absolutely, and testing's done quarterly, and you go back to see it, because businesses grow, they change, and things change, and that's why you monitor. We did an EDU audit, never been done, and it caused all kinds of uproar in this town. I'm paying too much, I'm paying too little.
Yeah.
You've been beating us up for 10 years, you didn't say you were beating us, because we have to do EDU audits to maintain, because people change their business.
Have you advertised for this position yet?
The town, we're trying to the town is conflicted between many unions. We have many unions in town. Each union wants it. They want to give to this person who's senior, so each union's fighting position because it pays, and they want, so it's kind of complicated. So we're trying to rewrite it into another union right now, so it's been a mess since we started. It's about people wanting the position because it pays well. And I want, the
Not
position
because
has
they're capable of
criteria.
doing the job.
That's right. I have criteria, you gotta have a degree.
So how many unions are you dealing with?
I have 5 at the plant.
5?
For this particular position, I'm dealing with 3.
Why can't they bid on it?
I don't know why the union does half the things they do.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I just don't understand why it
There's
does half the
5 of
things.
you fighting over it.
Matter of fact,
Who's going to give me the best deal?
no, for what I'm concerned is
who's gonna allow
it's the
it?
town's decision.
But
It's
they're
our
looking to put
decision
in
is
a
what
person.
I
I'm
think it
looking
should
to hire
be.
somebody that's capable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're looking for, is somebody that's capable to do the job. Period.
That's all.
End of story.
And so we write the specs, we write, and we put it where we want to.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying from
Why
here.
not go to an outside contractor and let the unions suffer?
The cost, that's all. I mean, the only reason it's cost.
How much is it gonna cost?
It's $150 an hour.
I'll bet you could hire a contractor for less than that to do it.
I do too.
The ones that we've talked to, has been $125, $150 an hour to do the program. Yes.
To do
So,
what?
To do the program, to go out there and test and see the businesses.
So they're gonna charge you for every single hour, not just the walking through the business, they're charging you for?
Whatever it takes them. So I go to business, it takes an hour, that's an hour. Go to the next one, they just keep going. Because if you're gonna, to your point, just get it done, you just let them go. And it's $150 an hour. Let them go, let them have at it.
Well,
Wait a second now. If it takes them an hour, and it's $150 an hour, and they're gonna get 8 done in a day, and we're building the business,
No, we're building the business for the actual test. So
yeah,
you
well,
still
the
have to allow
test is
to.
costing us $150 an hour.
We'll just build
No, it's
it.
not, it's not. The bill
Well,
comes
why
back from the
isn't it?
lab.
That's what you're paying.
If you're gonna pay that, why don't you just charge the businesses that?
I agree.
You know, the Board of
it's-
Health went out
it's
and
never
they
been done.
contracted to do these inspections. The Montero kid did a lot of them. Bobby Montero, the state cop, he did, they made out really well. I mean,
It's $50 per inspection, and that was for the housing.
exactly,
$50 an inspection.
yeah.
Yes, and I don't know what it cost them to pay, he probably did it for $10, I'm not so sure. But for every place he goes, it's $50 to the town. What the town pays of that to him, I don't know. So he must have done it close to nothing for the town to be profitable.
Let me tell you, they made money. They
Yeah,
made money on it.
I know John Viveris is doing it, he's on salary, and they're making tons of money on that, but I don't know about Mr. Montero. But every time you hire a contractor, you gotta pay him. And yeah, granted, it may not be with benefits, but you still gotta pay him, and whatever you collect is gotta offset what you're paying him.
I think what we're all saying
But
is,
we're saying is.
why not contract until until they can get their crap together and come up with
So,
a spot?
I probably could. I gotta get a price, because I've got to hire a consultant, and I'll pay their rate, and it is what it is. And so, and it's a position where somebody has to know what they're doing, so there's some degree of education,
Yeah.
whether it's a chemist, whatever, so.
how many
that's-
accounts roughly would you have to?
I'm not sure, 2,000 maybe? I'm, because adding my restaurants, my businesses, yeah, a couple of thousand.
There's that many,
And
huh?
some, yeah, and some you
2,000.
eliminate right away. The men's clothing store,
Does it take?
I eliminate that.
Hours per account? Does it take 4 hours per account?
Depends, the first go-around is the longest. After that, the maintenance is a lot quicker.
Right.
Because you need to look at the flow process. When a drop of water comes off the meter from the town's water and hits that building, you need to know where, you gotta follow where it goes until it comes out into that sewer pipe. and everything that happens in between. That's what you need to know. If a business has a floor drain, it gets more complicated because everything that's around that floor drain, your storage of your chemicals, whatever, that's a liability. You gotta make sure that that's what pretreatment is. That's.
Seems to me that you could hire an engineer even for cheaper amount of money than.
I agree.
What, you know.
Well,
to do
I
it.
don't see what difference it makes what it costs. If you're charging the business, that's the bill,
I
period.
can't charge a business, only thing I can charge a business for is the actual sampling, that the cost of the lab, just the lab cost, that's it. The rest we'll pay.
Now, that's not what you started out saying. You said you
didn't.
charge them for what it costs to do the test.
That's right,
Now
the
you're
test.
saying.
The test.
Now you're saying just the lab
The
fees.
test, that's right, to do the test. The lab does a test. I don't do the test, you don't do the test. The lab does the test. They pay for the test. Yes, what it costs of doing that test, they pay for. That's the lab, not us. But to get all information, they don't pay for that. They don't pay for any of that.
Maybe
They never
should.
paid for that.
So you need,
It's not
you need,
industry
you
standard.
need
If
to
we-
obtain the samples
I'm sorry?
and hand it over to the lab.
So the sample, we put a sampler there, it's a 24-hour composite sampler. It does its own thing, and then we send it to the lab, they pay that fee. If it's $200 for a BOD, if it's $2,000 for a scan, that's what they pay. My time and that person's time to go there, they pay nothing for. Never have, never
Well,
will.
Mr. Chairman, can I at least ask that we can,
Ask anything.
that somebody can explore get a consultant, because if the unions want to argue over this, but just get a consultant and pay a consultant. That's what I say.
All right, so let,
That's my, you know, I want to hear. I want to hear it. And that's a great way to,
Well, if we go this route, is there any savings on tie and bond? Or do we at least make their job a little faster?
Well, we'll see what we come up with. You know, I want a copy of that rough idea that he threw out. I need to get that from him, on the ABCD for the different businesses, et cetera, et cetera. I'd like to have that sheet to look at and peruse. I think that if we get some definitions, and we can come up with the definitions, granted, they might not be 100%, but at least we can come up with them to get a start point.
but, you know,
And
I understand
throw out
that.
what's wrong from there.
We understand, no, I don't fully understand the constraint that you're under. I don't even want to say that I understand. But I know you've got a lot going on in your plate. I tell you, in just my experience with working with unions, I've gone to contractors, and I've saved
Yep.
fortune.
I've watched my outside contractor budget go from $20,000 to $270,000. We're doing a lot more on the outside contractors because we have to. And that can continue to grow.
That's right.
I'm skirting some lines because the union puts a kibosh on a lot of things, because if I'm doing things that they can do, and it gets to be kind of complicated, and that's collective bargaining, which is beyond me. We have a HR department,
no, I
and it's
understand that, but-
collective
We
bargaining
have
is beyond
nothing
me.
to do with that.
No, we have nothing at all to do with.
Beyond me.
With any of that, but we do have the say, if something, we don't have something getting done and something's gonna help us to do it, we
Let's
do
get it
have,
done.
let's get it done with a contractor. Until
And-
until the
Well,
town resolves their
And
could
that
at least
contract
explore the
has,
cost, right?
Exactly.
we can have any contract, we can hire, but it's getting them paid. And so if it's not signed, we can sign the bills, the chairman can sign the bills if the town decides not to pay it. I mean, we had a selectman pull one of our bills. We authorized, he pulled it. They have that right. They pulled, say, yeah, we're not going to pay it. So I have a contractor that I can't pay. So I worry about those things, because I have to fight the contractor and say, I'm
I
trying to get you your
understand that.
money. It's been 6 months, be patient, I'm trying to get you
I
your money.
understand that, but
So I have to be
I'm
careful
just-
too.
I'm just opening, I would like to explore it. And
No,
let's
I
not-
agree.
Let's
I
not
agree.
sit with our hands tied with people telling us what we can do and what we can't do.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm sick of that. That's
Yeah,
such
you know, let's get it done.
BS.
Let's get it done.
It's
Work
nickel-dime
together,
BS that's been happening.
find another
Agree.
way to get it done.
Well, I didn't get a great answer when Ty and Bond said lots more money.
I try,
And I'm going to tell you something. I think Beta and GHD,
they're good companies. I like them.
I'm just echoing what Donna brought up earlier. I'm not really sold on what you're getting for your money. so.
All right.
If you think we should look, I don't know, I'd have to advertise it. Somebody that does, they specialize in rate setting, I can ask.
Well, I think it would be beneficial for all of us if you did ask and at least
I
give us
can, I can
some
find out what consultant does,
input on that.
because I'm sure there's got to be other groups that do it. Tybon does it throughout the state, they're hired by many, but that doesn't mean they're the only ones.
Exactly. I make a motion that we adjourn.
Next meeting is the 3rd of January. Anybody have a problem?
I'm on vacation, but that's a
Do
problem.
it, man.
but
You going somewhere warm?
I'm trying to, I may drive to South Carolina to see my
Hey, listen,
sister,
If you want to go south, go to Hyannis.
and then go to Georgia on the way back and stop and see Rebecca.
That'd be nice.
That'd be a good deal.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're out of here.
Wasn't that good?
Thank you very much.